On down. If you got a little kids, throw them in the front.
That's everyone.
Got everyone? Thank you, my friend. Okay, so everyone excited to be here tonight?
You
Now
bet.
we're gonna have some fun. So I am obviously thrilled to be here tonight, and I am because when I first came to Houston, it was 20 years ago with my first book, and I was at a place called Murder by the Book in Houston, which I love this store. I was there today actually signing copies. And the first hour, nobody came. Nobody. And then in hour 2, my friend Marla from law school came and brought her mother. And that was it. That was it. 2 was my record for the lowest turnout ever. And the owner of the bookstore, David, was such a sweetheart that he said, let's go to the movies. We went to see the South Park movie. That's what we did that night. So Houston, of course, has a huge warm spot in my heart for that. And I have a huge thank you to you because it's not 2 people today. And I really appreciate you coming out. And so thank you. This is the most important thing I'll say is thank you for coming to support this. I'll tell you very quickly about this book, and then we'll do some questions, and then we'll get some books signed. And Neil Armstrong. Why Neil Armstrong? I think when you look at history, in times of great need is when you have times of great heroes. And look at any moment in history, and that's when heroes present themselves. If you look at the Great Depression, the heroes that were popular then were Flash Gordon and Tarzan. They were characters designed to transport us elsewhere. Right? The Depression was depressing. People wanted to be in the 25th century. They wanted to be in another, in the jungles. And then World War II starts encroaching on our shores. And America gets scared. We want someone to come save us. And the very first character we see is not Captain America, it's Superman. Superman, then Captain America, then Wonder Woman, then Batman. It all starts right there. Why? Because we're a country that wants someone to come save us. And if you look after 9/11, when everyone said we're never going to laugh again, what are we going to do? The first character that broke through the public consciousness was Spider-Man. We were once again a country that was scared, wanted someone to come save us. We weren't a country of Superman anymore, right? We were more vulnerable. We were a country of Spider-Man. We knew that it was hard, but we weren't going to stop. That's the American way. That's the dream still. And it's why, to me, superhero movies, even the bad ones, still make over $100 million, right? 15, 16, 17 years now going. Because we're still that country that's searching for heroes. And I think it's no coincidence that I did Neil Armstrong at the same time. I've been working on this book for 3 years. At the same time, almost the same month that the Neil Armstrong movie opens up. Yesterday, I got a call from the screenwriter of the movie. I said, how long are you working on it? He said, how long are you working on your book? I'm like, 3 years. How long your movie? 4. And I said, it's no coincidence that we did this at the same time. And the way that I see it is we've spent a lot of time in America forgetting where we came from. And I think what we've done lately, and there's no politics about this, this is a Democrat and Republican thing, is we've favored, because of social media, those who are good at getting attention for themselves, those that beat their chest, those that say, look at me. We give them lots of likes. And what we're teaching our kids, it was a Harvard study that was just done, is we're teaching our kids that likes matter, and the thing that we're telling them matters is popularity. It doesn't matter. Be unpopular like me. And for me, what I love is reminding kids that something else is important, and it's humility. And I know that this crowd knows that because you're here tonight, you brought your kids, and you brought yourselves. And Neil Armstrong, I love his level of humility. I love that Neil Armstrong didn't use the word I, he used the word we. We did this, we accomplished it. We did this. That's how we saw the Apollo mission. And he was referring, he said all of us are in this. He was referring to the scientists, the mathematicians. He's referring to the tailors who were sewing his spacesuit together. God, I love that. Remember when humility was a great American value? We need those values back again. We need them back again. And this is my way of fighting back. This whole series was started so I can give my kids better heroes to look up to. We started with I Am Amelia Earhart and I Am Abraham Lincoln. We did I Am Rosa Parks, I Am Albert Einstein. I did Jackie Robinson because I wanted to show my son this is what a sports hero looks like. Scoring lots of points doesn't make you, anything but famous. But Jackie Robinson's how you affect the world. I did I Am Lucille Ball for my daughter to give her a female entertainment hero who wasn't just famous for being thin and pretty. Lucy stands for the idea it's okay to be different. Right? That's the best part of us. Every one of us here, all of us, the one thing we have in common is we're all different. I love that. That's a good thing, to be celebrated, not to be looked down on. And we did, I see Jane Goodall, hold up Jane Goodall there, right? Jane Goodall, my daughter loves our dog. I wanted to show her what you can use your love of anything, whether you love dance. How many people, the kids, who likes to dance? Raise your hand if you like to dance. Dance. Who likes their dogs? Cats. Okay, who likes sports? Raise your hand. Who likes robots? Sports, you like sports, right? Robots, thank you, Mom. But you can use that thing you love and turn it into something amazing like Jane Goodall, that she changed science by just favoring what she loved. We did I Am Helen Keller. And then something amazing happened during the election a couple years in 2016. As Hillary and Donald Trump were bashing each other's heads in every day, we saw 3 of our books take off. I Am Dr. King, I Am Martin Luther King Jr., I Am George Washington, and I Am Rosa Parks. And it wasn't a Democrat or Republican thing again. It was that parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles were looking around and turning on the TV and seeing politicians, and what they wanted to show their kids were leaders. We all know there's a difference between a politician and a leader. And this series, people were using it to fight back. I love that. And saying, this is what a leader looks like. Here's a man named George Washington. And I love that. And then we did I Am Jim Henson, creator of the Muppets, creator of Sesame Street. And my youngest son, that was for my youngest, who's our creative one in our family. And I told him that when I was 5 years old, Jim Henson and Mr. Rogers taught me you could use your creativity to put good into this world. And that's all I'm trying to do today, is still trying to use my creativity, I hope, to put some good into this world. It's what I love doing. And it, again, takes me back to, we've done Gandhi, we've done Harriet Tubman, we've done Sacagawea. I brought the next one so you can look at it when I sign your book. This is the next one. I Am Sonia Sotomayor, our first Latina hero. And there's no politics about this either. An amazing story of a woman who comes from nothing and becomes one of the most amazing lawyers and smartest people in the whole world. And I love this story. And then after that, we do I Am Billie Jean King. Comes in February. So Sonia Sotomayor comes in November, and then February is Billie Jean King. And leads me back, though, all this work leads me back to Neil Armstrong. Beyond just humility, what Neil Armstrong stands for me, is hard work. And when Neil Armstrong was 8 years old, anyone here 8? Who's close to 8? You're 8? Okay, so this is for you. Right? 8 years old, he wanted to climb this silver maple tree in his backyard. And he wanted to climb this tree. And when you climb a tree, it's like figuring out a puzzle, right? You gotta grab this branch, and then you gotta grab that branch, you gotta work your way to the top. And one of the days he grabs a dead branch, and the branch breaks, and he falls from the tree. He plummets, falls on his back. Wind knocked out of him, sister comes running over, gets their mom. But the most important thing that Neil Armstrong does is he gets back up again. That's the part where I stop with my kids. I'm like, look at this part. He then gets jobs. He mows lawns in cemeteries. Most depressing job for a child I've ever heard of in my whole life, right? But then he saves his money because he wants to buy toy airplanes that he's obsessed with. Then he wants real airplanes. He wants to get pilot's lessons. And he saves for that. Gets his pilot's license, he's so young, before his driver's license. Obviously becomes a test pilot, becomes an astronaut right here in Houston. And becomes that man who's the first one to step on the moon. He takes that giant leap for all mankind. But to me, what is vital to teach our kids is you don't get to take the giant leap until you take the thousands of small steps that get you there. Again, we teach our kids right now, our kids look and they see, they want to be famous. They want to be on Instagram. They want to be liked. But it takes so much hard work. That's what matters, is the hard work. And you're going to see it in Neil Armstrong. You're going to see firsthand what he went through to get to the moon. And I love that. In fact, the first review we got, and I came to the bookstore yesterday, and a little girl left me a note, and it said, I couldn't make it tonight. It said, Dear Brad Meltzer, my name is Callista. She was a little girl. I want to be an astronaut. I'm so glad you did this book. And on the back, she said, I have demands for new books for you to do, too. Kids don't make requests. They make demands. It's a demand list. It's like feeling, I'm like, we don't negotiate with terrorists. And but her 2 that she had on the back, you can look on our Facebook and Twitter page, it was Katherine Johnson and Sally Ride. And I love that this little girl read Neil Armstrong and was moved by that. And I know that right now, I hope for these kids here and thousands of kids around the country that dream and look at the moon, but they can look up and their dream gets a little bigger after they read about this man from spent so much time here in Houston. So that's the story of Neil Armstrong. It's one of my favorites, and you'll get to see it. What I'd love to do to make it a little different is you can ask any questions you want. You can ask about the TV show, you can ask about the thrillers, you can ask about comics, you can ask about anything. And we'll go from there, and kids, you can ask questions too, don't worry, and then we'll assign some books. So who's going to be the brave soul? Yes, questions?
I want to know, did your son get an A on that paper?
Oh, yes, let's talk about that. That's a
Tell the
great
story.
question. Yeah, so this is the craziest story. So for those who don't know, I'll back up a little. I had a TV show that was on the air. It was called Brad Meltzer's Lost History. It's the best title of all time. Brad Meltzer's Lost History. I said to my wife the other day, honey, what are we having for Brad Meltzer's dinner tonight? Because yesterday we had Brad Meltzer's chicken, and tonight I'd like to have Brad Meltzer's pasta. And she was like, you can go sleep on Brad Meltzer's couch. If you knew my wife, that's not a joke. And so what we did with the show is we said there are lost artifacts out there, and we're going to use our show to find them. And the very first show we did was about the flag from 9/11 that the firefighters raised at Ground Zero. Everyone knows the famous photograph, firefighters raised the flag. And the flag, 24 hours later, went missing. We went on the show. I said, America, please, we need your help. Someone has that flag. Please return it if you have it. And what I couldn't tell anyone for a year was 4 days after the first episode aired, a man walked into a fire station in Washington State, and he said, I saw the show Lost History. I need to return this. This is the flag. We spent a year authenticating it. On the 15th anniversary of 9/11, I unveiled it, helped unveil it in the 9/11 Museum. One of the most amazing, humbling moments of my life. Right? To be able to be, no, thank you, I appreciate it. I was right there before. You were at that event. And so I literally had to cancel one. I stopped in Houston. I was in the middle of book tour, and we went and unveiled it on September on the anniversary. It was incredible. And again, to play a small role in that was just, there are no words for it. And then here's what happens. So right as I'm leaving for the book tour, for I Am Neil Armstrong, my son comes home from school. I'm talking about I have an hour to go before when I'm leaving, and he comes home. And he says, Dad, look what my homework assignment is. And he has to do an essay on this article that the teacher gave out. And the article is that the 9/11 flag was found. And he has to write about it. And my son, so giddily, so happy, rubs it in my face by saying, Dad, they don't mention you in the article. They just say a TV show found it. And so I looked at him, I said, we're totally going to win homework. We're going to crush show and tell for your whole class. And so somehow I put a tweet out about it, and Yahoo picked it up, and it made like national news. And then the craziest part is at 6 o'clock in the morning, the teacher emailed me and said, oh my gosh, I just saw the story. I'm so sorry, I didn't know it was you. It was okay, but you better give him an A. Or you're... And so yesterday on book tour, he emailed. I was doing quotes with him. There's the joy of book tours. You're raising your child from on the tour. But I was like, we got to do stuff. So I gave him all the behind-the-scenes story of how it really happened. And he sent me yesterday the essay. He handed it in today. And tomorrow is Friday, which is when it's due. It was due on Friday. And I am watching this grade very carefully. And she, of course, emails. She's like, "Oh my gosh, now it's on Yahoo! It's on the homepage." She's like emailing us all the time, so which I love it. So the teacher's been amazing. But yes, we are going to crush show and tell. Right? Nobody's going to beat it. Yes. Other questions? Yes.
Yes. The Decoded series. Are we going to hopefully?
Yeah. Question is right? Where's Decoded? Right? We want to know. So here's the story. We love Decoded. I would love to do more Decoded. If you want Decoded, and History Channel's told me this, go on social media, go on whatever platform you're on, and write, we want more, hey, history. It's usually at History or at History Channel. Tag them. We want more Decoded. That's it. When they see enough of those, they bring the stuff back. That's what always happens, and they love doing the show with us. We were the #1 show that launched on H2 when Lost History launched. The only reason it's not on the air anymore, I mean, we found the 9/11 flag, we helped find it, I should say, right? Is because H2 got branded to Vice. The network just shut down. It had nothing to do with anything we did. And we love doing Decoded, so trust me, please put it out there, and that's how the world gets it. I mean, as always in the world, I always say to my daughter, if you don't ask, you don't get. So thank you for asking, but ask them, and we'll hopefully do some more of them. I still speak to Buddy and McKinley and Scott, and I still keep a list that's running. There's so much. I mean, think of what's happened in the last 2 years. I want to do more Decoded, right? There's so much stuff to do. It's like on a daily basis is a good story. Conspiracies everywhere. Yes?
On the comic book front, tell me about your fascination with Green Arrow.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, I also write comic books. I love comic books. and I love Green Arrow. My favorite is Batman. I love Green Arrow. I love the character. You know, I know I'll never be Superman. I'll never lift a car over my head. I'll never shoot lasers out of my eyes. But Batman and Green Arrow are just men who are stubborn and have a sense of goodness and a streak that they need to do something. Batman knows every day, right? He's Batman because his parents died and he wants to go out and stop crime so it never happens to anyone else. Every day he goes out to stop crime. Every day he knows he will fail. He's never going to stop crime completely. He knows he'll fail every day, but every day he goes out again. And the next day he goes out again.
He tries.
And you got to try, right? That's the lesson. And for me, it's the same thing with Green Arrow. That streak, that goodness streak of just saying, I know it's hard to make a difference, but you got to try. That's my soul. And I was lucky enough to do that. I just did Action Comics number 1000 for Superman. I got to write a Superman story. I'll tell you this for those who don't know, because this was kind of my hidden secret in the story. Is the story, you ready? Want to hear a Superman story? You guys ready for a Superman story? Okay. So the story is called, it opens up and Superman's flying and top speed. And he says, I'm not going to make it. And then the next panel he says, I'm not going to make it. He's still flying. And what it is there's a bad guy who has a gun and he's holding it to this woman's head. And he's just about to pull the trigger. And the bullet starts going. And he says, I know how fast the bullet goes. I know my top speed. I know the distance. It's just math. I'm not going to make it. He says, but I got to try. And he's going again. And as he's flying, he's like, I'm flying hypersonic, supersonic. He just can't slow down. He's trying to get to this woman to save her. And he realizes as he's flying at the last second, he says, I'm so busy now that you see the bullet slowly coming through the chamber and spinning. The whole story takes place in 1 second. And he's going, I'm so focused on the bad guy, I don't see her. And what the woman does is she leans her head into the gun, just knocks it a split second. He says, she's still gonna get shot. He's like, but it buys her a split second. He says, and that's all I need. You turn the page and boom, he comes through the wall and he goes, boom, and he grabs the bullet. And the last page is Superman talking to the girl. And he says, you know, that was really brave of you. What's your name? And she says, Lila. And he says, you know, you should be a cop. And he says, my father always says that. He says, every one of us is here for a reason. And Superman takes off and flies. He says, your father's a smart man. Lila in the story is my daughter. And that's the secret that no one knew, is I had the artist age my daughter up. She's little. And the whole story was a present for her. And it was the proof, and it was also my way of saying, having Superman say your father is really smart. It was a good one to use during arguments. But it was a gift for her. And John Cassaday, the amazing artist who did the story, gave me the art for the story as a present for her. And I bought the extra pages for it. And then Chris Eliopoulos, our artist on the kids' books, our amazing artist, he was the letterer of the book, and he actually re-lettered the book so the story is on the original art, and it was a gift from my daughter, and we just gave it to her. So it's my favorite story, one of my favorites I've ever done. But again, that same thing, right? You know you can't do it. You know it's going to be impossible. What do you got to do? You got to try. Got to try. Yes? Yeah, good question. So the question is, what encouraged me, what made me write books? Why do I want to be a writer? And I'm going to tell you this. This is an important lesson. My 9th grade English teacher, named Sheila Spicer, changed my life with 3 words. She said to me, you can write. And I was like, well, everyone can write. She said, no. You know what you're doing. And she tried to put me in the honors class. I had some sort of conflict. She said, here's what we're going to do. You're going to sit in the corner for the entire year, ignore everything I do on the blackboard, ignore every homework assignment I give. You're going to do the honors work instead. And what she was really saying was, you're going to thank me later. And sure enough, 10 years later, my first book came out. I went back to her classroom. I knocked on the door. She said, can I help you? I said, my name is Brad Meltzer. I wrote this book, and it's for you. And she starts crying. I said, why are you crying? And she said, you know, I was going to retire this year because I didn't think I was having an impact anymore. And I said, are you kidding me? You have 30 students. We have 1 teacher. And that woman changed my life. Had no idea of her impact on me. And so to me, that was the first person who told me that I was good at something. It was her. And that's why I said I got to write, because I was like, there was someone who said you can do this. And so you all have that power. Every one of you. We all have that power. You can go out there. When you say, good job, I like what you did there, you have a knack for that. That's your power. And if you don't use it, time fades and your power fades with it. So go out, tell someone. And I'll say this is, think of your Miss Spicer. We all have one. Think of the person in your life who told you were good at something. Think of someone who gave you your first real job, took a chance on you. When you're done here, and we're done signing and everything's over, find him on Facebook and say thank you. Track him down on Google, say thank you. You will not believe what comes from it. And then write me the story, because I promise you, it's going to be awesome. Yeah. Yeah, so the question is, good question also, how long does it take to make a book? So when I write a thriller, it takes me 2 years. It's a long time. That's a long time. When I did The Escape Artist, was the last thriller. It took me, to give you the full picture, I was on a USO tour. I do USO tours where we go to the Middle East. I've been to Cuba. We do lots of tours for them. And I love doing them. And I found about Dover Air Force Base. And Dover is where we all know the flag-covered coffins come when our fallen soldiers come back. And when I was at Dover, I thought, I'm going to write about this place, because I was so moved by what I saw. I was humbled by it. They had, the people there who take care of the fallen troops will spend 12 hours rebuilding someone's jaw and smoothing it out with clay so a family could see their son one last time. Rebuilding someone's hand from scratch, because the mother specifically says she wants to hold her son's hand one last time. And I just was like, these are heroes. These are the best of us working on the best of the best of us. And I said to them, I want to do a book where you find, is there a hidden message that you can find on a body? Because there's nothing better to talk about at a kid signing than bodies. And they told me, I'm going to tell you this story, because it's such a cool story, is they said to me that if you're on an airplane and your plane is going down, you can write a note, eat the note, and the liquids in your stomach, if the timing's right, will protect the note from burning upon the crash. I said, that's a crazy story. He said, not a story, it really happened. And it really happened. And I said, I'm totally using that. And that's what happens in the book is Zig, our hero, is working at Dover Air Force Base, and he's working on someone's body. He opens it up, there's a note inside the body. It also guarantees when you're on a plane next time, you're thinking of me when turbulence hits. You're going to think of me. Turbulence is going to hit, you're going to be like, Meltzer. And he opens the body, and the note inside says, Nola, you were right. Keep running. And he realizes she's not dead, this woman. She's alive. She's out there. You got the wrong person. She's the escape artist. And I just ruined chapter 1 for you. But that's the book. And that book takes me 2 years to write. Another, all this time. This one took even longer because it was all the research that was involved. A book like the one you're holding, like I Am Neil Armstrong, will take a couple months by the time research and writing. And then it will take Chris a couple months to do the drawings. He does pencils and then inks, and then we have to send it out. We make corrections. They color it, they letter it, they edit it. It takes a long time. It takes almost probably 6 months total each time we do it, every year, every one. But we love doing them, and I'm so glad we get to do more of them. Is there someone else who has not asked a question? Yes, sorry.
Did you like learning about the historical figures as a child?
Yeah, the question is, did I like learning about historical figures as a child? I wish we had these books. I think I wrote these books because I wish I had them. I did love stories of George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. But I write these stories for my kids because they're the books that I wanted too. And now you have these books, right? And you're going to one day write a book for someone else. That Gandhi, I love that book. That's one of my favorite ones we did. But I always find that the things you love when you're a kid, you get older and then you improve upon them. So when you do your first book, invite me to your book signing, okay? Is that a fair deal? Okay, 2 more questions. Yes, got one?
Out of your opinion, what's your favorite book and why?
Yeah, but what's my favorite book and who's my favorite author? We'll add to that. My favorite author is this guy named Brad Meltzer. Sometimes I read his books and watch his TV show at the same time. I hold up a mirror and I say, oh, Meltzer, you've done it again. No, the truth is my favorite book that I've written is, there are 3 that really just kind of get to me. I Am Abraham Lincoln. It just gets to me. It just, there's something about that story. And he's the one of the people that just lives up to the hype. There's so many stories I couldn't even put in the book because there wasn't enough room that I wish we had room for. I love I Am Helen Keller, because in the book, when she goes blind and she goes deaf, it says, close your eyes, that's how I see the world. Cover your ears, here's how I hear the world, and it's just black pages. And then when you get to where she learns how to read, it says, close your eyes, feel this, and it bumps her on the page. We put the real Braille alphabet in the book. It says, this is my name. My name's Helen. What's your name? And then you can feel on the next page the real Braille alphabet. And my 16-year-old, I caught him one day reading the book, and my kids are not impressed by anything I do. Nothing. I find the 9/11 flag with people, they don't care. But my 16-year-old, and you know how hard it is to get a compliment of a 16-year-old, said to me, Dad, this one's pretty good. And I was like, pretty good. But yeah, he was like, this one was, and that one's special to me. And again, I love Jim Henson. I love that because, again, it's just that lesson that I had when I was younger, still trying to put good into this world. So those are my 3 favorites. Okay, one last question, then we'll sign some books. Anything else you want to ask? Aquaman, hit it.
When it comes to your audiobooks,
Yes.
did you have any say-so in getting Scott Brick to read?
Yeah, the question is Scott Brick is for those who listen to the audiobooks, the thrillers on the audiobooks, is when I first got my first audiobook 20 years ago, it was actually a cassette tape. And the first person who read it, I listened to it, and I was so excited because my name was on a cassette tape and it wasn't a mix I made, right? It was really on there. And if you're laughing because you know what a cassette is, you're as old as I am, right? We're old. And I was so psyched, and I put it in the cassette deck in the car, and I was like, let's do it. And it just didn't sound like me. It just didn't. It was something wrong. And the second book, too, they got a woman who they're great, but it just wasn't my voice. And then we got Scott Brick. He was one of the great readers of audiobooks. And back then, I don't think he did many of any thrillers. And I listened to him, and I was like, that's it. That's how I do it. And he just had me in a better baritone. He made me sound tough. My grandmother was deaf and blind at the time. And I used to give her the audiobooks, and I said, what do you think? And she said, he sounds handsome. And I knew right there we had our guy. So he has gone back, he's recorded all of our books. We had him record the first 2. And in fact, right now he is recording. Is a perfect way to end. The next book that comes out, the next thriller that comes out, is a book about a real-life secret plot. It's the first adult nonfiction book about a secret plot to kill George Washington. During the Revolutionary War, George Washington found out about it. He took one of the people who was responsible, rounded him up, built a gallows. 20,000 people watched as they hung him, the largest public execution at that point in North American history. Why have you never heard this story? The hanging happened on June 28th, 1776, the day the first draft of the Declaration of Independence was handed in. The British were literally coming. They were right there, about to invade. It was a busy time, and that hanging happened right there. It's a moment lost to history. We found it in a footnote. If I was doing Decoded today, you asked about Decoded, this is the episode I do. I don't have Decoded, so I wrote a book. It's an episode of Decoded in book form. It's all real. It's called The First Conspiracy, The Secret Plot to Kill George Washington. It's my favorite episode of Decoded we've ever done. And you won't believe it, it's all real. So that comes out in January, and Scott Brick is now reading this one too. So with that said, I want the kids to, obviously if you have little kids, if you can let them cut the line, that's just great, because anyone